In the sweltering heat of a New York summer morning, 15-year-old Jake Thompson sprinted through the bustling streets of Brooklyn, his backpack bouncing wildly against his back. The city was alive with its usual chaos: honking taxis, street vendors hawking iced coffees, and pedestrians dodging each other like players in a frantic game. But Jake had no time for the rhythm of the urban jungle. He was late for history class again, and Mr. Harlan Davis, his no-nonsense teacher, didn't tolerate tardiness. 3 strikes in a row meant a week of after-school detention scrubbing desks, and Jake was already on strike too. His sneakers slapped against the cracked sidewalk, sweat stinging his eyes as he muttered excuses under his breath. Traffic. No, the subway was delayed. Yeah, that'll work. The thoughts raced through his mind faster than his feet could carry him. He nearly collided with a hot dog cart, swerving just in time, his heart pounding from more than just the run. The familiar sights blurred by: the corner bodega with its faded awning, the mural-covered wall of the community center, faces of neighbors he half recognized but didn't dare stop for. School was the only thing that mattered right now. Getting there before the bell sealed his fate. But then, a faint, heartbreaking wail pierced the haze of his panic. It was soft at first, like a distant siren muffled by the city noise, but it tugged at something deep inside him. Jake skidded to a halt, whipping around toward the nearly empty parking lot behind a small grocery store. The cry grew louder, more desperate, pulling him closer like an invisible thread. There, under the relentless glare of the sun beating down on the asphalt, sat an old sedan, its windows fogged from the trapped heat. Squinting against the blinding reflection, Jake froze. In the back seat, strapped into a car seat, was a baby, no more than a few months old. The infant's tiny face was flushed crimson, slick with sweat, little fists weakly pressing against the glass as muffled sobs escaped. Jake's stomach twisted into knots. "Hey!" he shouted, scanning the lot frantically. "Whose car is this?" His voice echoed off the brick walls of nearby buildings, but the street remained eerily silent, swallowed by the morning rush elsewhere. No owners rushing back, no helpful bystander, just him and that heartbreaking sound. He lunged at the driver's door, yanking the handle, locked. He tried the others, each one unyielding, his panic surging like the heat radiating from the metal. He couldn't even imagine what it felt like inside. The air outside was already suffocating, thick and heavy. The baby's head lolled slightly to the side, its chest heaving in shallow, labored breaths. A chilling thought hit him. How much time does he have? "Hang on, little guy," he whispered, his voice cracking. He spun around, eyes darting for anything to help. His gaze landed on a hefty chunk of concrete at the curb's edge, probably debris from a recent repair. Without a second thought, he scooped it up, the rough weight grounding him amid the fear. "Sorry about this," he murmured to the car, or maybe to the universe. Raising it high, he swung with all his teenage strength. The rear window shattered in an explosive crash, shards scattering like brittle ice across the seat and pavement. A blast of scorching air whooshed out, carrying the baby's faint whimpers. Jake thrust his arm through the jagged hole, fumbling for the lock. It clicked open, and he scrambled inside, careful not to cut himself on the glass. Gently, he unbuckled the straps, lifting the limp, fever-hot bundle into his arms. The baby felt alarmingly fragile, like a porcelain doll on the verge of breaking. "You're gonna be okay," Jake breathed, pressing the tiny body against his chest, his own heart thundering in his ears. Was he reassuring the infant or himself? Stepping back out, he glanced around. The lot was still deserted, the world frozen in indifference. The nearest clinic was 3 blocks away, a route he knew by heart from school commutes. Clutching the baby tighter, Jake bolted. His legs burned, each step heavier than the last, the summer sun sapping his strength like a thief. The infant let out a weak mewl, the cry barely audible now, which only fueled Jake's terror. "Just hold on," he gasped, weaving past a flower shop's colorful displays, a coffee cart's steaming patrons, even the hot dog vendor who'd eyed him curiously earlier. People turned, some shouting questions. "Kid, what's wrong? Is that a baby?" But Jake didn't stop. His focus narrowed to the clinic's white facade ahead, a beacon slicing through the haze of exhaustion and dread. Lungs screaming, he pushed harder. "Almost there. We're almost there." He burst through the clinic doors in a skid of sneakers on linoleum, the glass panels whooshing shut behind him. "Help! Somebody, please!" The waiting room snapped to attention, patients lowering magazines, heads swiveling in unison. Behind the reception desk, Nurse Ramirez froze mid-reach for a file, her eyes widening at the sight, a sweaty teen cradling a limp infant, both looking like they'd escaped a furnace. "I found him in a car," Jake panted, stumbling forward. "Locked in, under the sun. I think he's not breathing right. Please!" Nurse Ramirez sprang into action, her training kicking in like clockwork. "Call Dr. Elena Vasquez, stat," she barked to an aide who dashed toward the ER doors. Circling the desk, she reached out with steady hands, though her face betrayed the urgency. "The parents?" she asked sharply. "I don't know," Jake exhaled, reluctant to let go. "He was just there, burning up. I had to get him out." Her calm authority cut through his haze, and with trembling arms, he handed over the baby. Nurse Ramirez cradled the child expertly and hurried away, leaving Jake adrift in the sterile quiet. His knees buckled. He sank onto a chair, the adrenaline crash hitting like a wave. Whispers rippled around him. What happened? Is the baby okay? But they faded into white noise. All he could hear was the echo of those tiny cries, now silenced. Minutes stretched into eternity under the hum of fluorescent lights. Jake stared at his scratched hands, glass flecks embedded like tiny accusations. "Did I do enough?" A soft voice pulled him back. "You holding up, kid?" Dr. Vasquez stood there, her badge glinting, her eyes warm with the quiet wisdom of someone who'd seen too many crises. Jake looked up, throat tight. I just reacted. Is he—" She nodded, pulling up a chair, her expression a blend of concern and quiet pride. "You did good, real good. Brought him in time. That's what counts." But the words hung, unspoken qualifiers lingering. "He's stable now, fighting back. We cooled him down, fluids in, but yeah, it was close." Jake's vision blurred with unshed tears. Relief warred with the what-ifs, a storm he couldn't outrun. As the initial chaos ebbed, questions piled up. Police arrived soon after, Officer Ramirez, coincidentally sharing the nurse's last name, taking Jake's statement in a quiet side room. "Name's Jake Thompson, 15, from PS 147, he recited, voice steadier than he felt. He walked the officer through it. The cry, the locked door, the swing of concrete, the run. No one around, I couldn't wait. Officer Ramirez jotted notes, his face respectful. "Brave move, son. Risky, but yeah, you saved that kid." Word spread like wildfire through the clinic, drawing Jake's mom, Sarah Thompson, in a flurry of panicked texts, turned reality. She burst in, face pale, enveloping him in a fierce hug. "Jake, they said you broke a window. What were you thinking?" But as Officer Ramirez explained, the baby, the heat, the heroism, her grip softened to awe. "My boy, you saved a life?" Tears welled as you held him close, pride eclipsing fear. Later, the parents arrived, faces etched with devastation. The dad, Mike Harlan, ironically sharing Jake's teacher's last name, had rushed from the store, assuming his wife, Lisa, had grabbed their son, Ethan, from the car. A simple mix-up, they swore, born of exhaustion and a quick errand. But Jake's anger flared in the consultation room, raw and unfiltered. "How do you forget? He was dying in there!" The words exploded, hanging heavy. Lisa sobbed, Mike crumbling. Dr. Vasquez intervened gently, her hand on Jake's shoulder. "Easy. They're paying for it now, legally, emotionally. Let the system handle the rest." In the end, fines came down, mandatory parenting classes, supervised visits. Ethan recovered fully, his chubby cheeks regaining color under the clinic's care. Jake met them once more weeks later, a volunteer badge now pinned to his shirt. Ethan gurgled happily in his dad's arms, oblivious to the scare. Lisa pressed a framed photo into Jake's hands, a beaming infant portrait engraved with, "You gave us hope."
"Not everyone acts like you did," she whispered. Jake blushed, mumbling thanks, but inside, something shifted. Gratitude washed over the guilt, a quiet validation. That encounter ignited a spark. Under Dr. Vasquez's wing, Jake dove into volunteering, sorting supplies, chatting with nervous kids in the pediatric ward, shadowing rounds. A 5-year-old named Tommy, terrified of shots, cracked a grin at Jake's goofy faces and tales of video game bosses. "You're cooler than doctors," Tommy declared. Dr. Vasquez noticed. "You've got a gift, Jake. Empathy like that? It's rare." Conversations turned deeper. "Ever think about medicine?" she asked one afternoon amid stacks of charts. Jake paused, the idea blooming from embers. "Maybe, yeah." It wasn't abstract anymore. It was a path forged in that parking lot inferno. High school blurred into pre-med dreams, biology clubs, summer internships, late nights poring over anatomy texts. Doubts crept in, the grind of med school, the debt, the endless shifts. But Jake pushed through, fueled by Ethan's photo on his desk, a talisman of purpose. Months later, at a mentorship fair, Dr. Vasquez introduced him to program directors. This kid's got heart and action to back it. Jake stood taller, the boy who'd shattered glass now building bridges to futures like his own. The city streets, once just a blur of haste, now whispered possibilities. In the heat of that fateful morning, Jake hadn't just saved a life, he'd uncovered his own. Thank you for listening to the story until the end. Don't forget to leave your opinion about this story, subscribe to the Unbelievable But True channel, and share this video with your friends and loved ones. This motivates us to continue working on new stories. Don't miss the next amazing story that is about to appear on your screen. We are very grateful to you for being with us. In the description below this video, you can open a catalog of all the stories. See you soon!